All right.
All right. Hello, I'm Diane Baxter. I'm the chair of the LSP board. As always, the board encourages interactive participation. If a member of the public would like to participate in the meeting, please type a question in the chat feature or raise your hand and Chris will call on you. I encourage all board members to turn their cameras on and ensure your cell phone is on silent mode. I'll now proceed with a roll call to establish who from the board is participating in today's meeting and to confirm quorum. David Austin,
Here.
Gail Batchelder,
Here.
Kathy Campbell,
Present.
Craig Ellis,
Here.
Kirk Franklin. No Kirk?
Nope.
Nope.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Greg McBride,
Here.
Paul McKinley,
I am here.
Deirdre Manoyo.
Deidre is not here.
Okay. Jamie Smith.
Present.
And Diane Baxter, I am here. Okay, could I also now have people in the room introduce yourself? Maybe start with Terry.
I am Terry Wood. I'm the LSP Board Executive Director.
Chris Borges, Mass DEP.
David Austin, LSP Board member.
All right. And Chris, who from the public is participating in the meeting today?
We have 11 attendees online. Brian Roden, Brittany Chapman, Jesse Arroyo, Carolyn Whipple, Lori McCarthy, Mary Ellen Morris, Matthew Kisane, Rochelle Zelch, Rebecca Boswell, and Sneha Kalagara.
All right. Thank you. All right. First up, we have the continuing ed committee meeting. Could I turn the chair over to David Austin or Gail Batchelder?
Sure. I'm calling the continuing ed committee meeting to order at 12:08. Any changes to the agenda or announcements?
Nope.
The meeting minutes from last March, any comments or edits or motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. So no comments or edits. Roll call to approve with a yes. Craig,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
I'm abstaining, and Jamie.
Yes.
Great. New business is one course approval request from the LSPA. This week's membership meeting, one credit, live webinar, and future on demand. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
A yes is in favor of approving the request. Craig,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
David's a yes, and Jamie.
Yes.
And then there's a course reapproval request. There was an instructor change, or no, there was a person added to, I think, the final Q&A session. Someone from New Hampshire. Do we have to go through a roll call
I think so.
for this request?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Yes is approving the reapproval request. Craig?
Yes.
Not Greg. Diane?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
That's on Kathy,
Hmm.
Paul,
Yes.
Greg, McBride,
Yes.
David's a yes, and Jamie.
Yes.
And then the guidance on older on-demand courses, I'm not sure what that was about. That's something that's been published, right? And it's on the LSP board or?
Matt's gonna discuss the issue.
Okay,
Yeah, David, I added this to the agenda. Just wanted to get some board member comments or guidance on-demand courses that may be outdated or getting there. Whether you'd like me to take a look at some of them. Um, Basically, I did take some on-demand courses. The LSPA was good about indicating that the regulations had changed when registering for the course, um, based on the March 2024 changes, the MCP amendments. So when you took the course, you kind of understood that. But there may be other courses out there that are outdated. Some of the technical geology courses, obviously, that information doesn't probably change much. It's probably still relevant and correct, but just wanted to put it out there to the board members to see if they would like me to look into that some more, or if they have any comments about that.
Matt, this is Greg. My last go around to renew my license, I had delayed for a while, and so I took a lot of online courses, and I did notice that a couple of them were, even though we hadn't officially changed the regs yet, we were talking about it, and it was clear that some of those, and especially regulatory courses, are out of date, and we should probably encourage the LSPA to either try to update them or maybe take them down because they don't provide a if you're providing information that's no longer correct, that's a problem.
I think though, the courses that I took, they were talking about proposed changes to the MCP, which took effect, so that was
Oh,
good.
okay. Well, that's
Um,
different. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want to just start, knocking courses off the on-demand list because they are hard to find sometimes, especially when you're in a crunch to get your license renewed.
Right.
Um, and the other alternative is just let the market dictate whether, people are going to sign up for a course that might be outdated and not beneficial. Um, but I see your point to maybe address it more forcefully.
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head have examples, so it would be easier if we had one that clearly fell into the category. I
Yeah,
can
I
think
mean,
about that though.
I can say for my part, this is sort of a unique feature of on-demand courses, right? If somebody's doing a reoffering of an old, well, I guess that's actually maybe a misunderstanding. So if somebody is giving a course that's already been approved, a live course, and they gave and it was approved 5 years ago, are they all set? Do they have to come back? If the content is old, like, is this a feature unique to the on-demand course that now lives, as taped forever? And is it something we should maybe consider having the policy for, like after a certain amount of time, they need to get reapproved or whatever, or how does it compare to a live course that's been approved?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually. I agree that it is kind of unique because, I mean, technically a live course that was approved in 2000 is still approved, right? It's just nobody's likely to be offering that course,
Right.
20 years
Well,
later.
well, just to correct that, so it was approved for a live course in 2000, but if it wasn't approved for on-demand, they
No,
can't
no, I'm
repeat
I'm
it.
saying that's what makes the on demand
Yeah.
unique.
Oh,
So
okay.
technically, if it was the same instructor and the same syllabus, they could still offer that course even years later if it's been approved.
And we don't approve content. We approve only the outline. We do not approve the content of a course. So we might not know whether or not the content was up to date, but that's true with any instructor. I mean, we approve courses based on what the outline says and instructors' qualifications, but it doesn't mean the person's telling somebody the right information that's up to date.
No, except that it wouldn't make sense for somebody to do a live course. It's unlikely that they're going to base it on outdated regulations, whereas the on-demand course is just there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't
that's
speaking about
exactly.
regulations. I was speaking about more of the other type of, yeah, just a technical
Like a
course.
technical course, yeah.
Yeah, and even technical courses can be outdated.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right. But so can, well, we do not approve content. We only approve
Yeah,
the outline.
it's a really good point.
So you don't want to do, I guess I was just wondering whether there was some need for a policy, like after so many years, to look at the on-demand or make somebody come back for another approval for an on-demand one, because it's, that much different from a live one, but I don't know the answer to that.
To really make that evaluation, somebody would have to sit and take the course, the way Matt did.
Yep. But we also would have to sit, I mean, in fairness, you have to sit through the other courses and review for content. I mean, we had one course, I believe, years and years ago that there were enough complaints about the content that we had to consider what to do about it because it was somewhat, and this was a live course, because there were some issues with what was being presented.
There could be some scenarios where it's superseded, right? I mean, if you have a new updated method 3 guidance or AUL and there was an old course, right? And we're at,
Right.
it would be superseded. Like that would be a fairly low hanging fruit to sort of identify
Yeah.
those outdated courses that are supplanted by, a new course. And, we could, look at it. If we're approving a new method 3, all the old ones, previous would presumably be,
Since many
outdated.
of our courses that we look at are from the LSPA, I think they would be cognizant enough of those kinds of changes. But again,
I
that we
Yeah.
could ask them to take a look at some of the older courses.
Right. I think there's a reasonable, I think to start, let's think about it. It seems reasonable to look at the regulatory courses first because those clearly might be outdated depending on, what specific aspect of it we're talking about. But I think maybe it would be the LSPA who would want to do that because somebody's paying them to take a course.
And they don't want to give their members bad information in the
Right.
form of a course.
That would be my feeling.
I mean, I think that's all true, but I think it does make some sense to have some sort of policy in terms of like a window for reapproval or something like that. Like, I don't know, call it 5 years or something like that. If it's been sitting there as a available on-demand course, that it makes sense to at least have to come back in for a reapproval to confirm that
Is that a
it's up to
reg
date.
change though?
Well,
For
Is
that's
that a reg
that's
regulatory
change?
topics, yes, I would say that's reasonable, but I don't think every course that's technical needs to have reapproval. A hydrogeology course shouldn't change, you know?
Maybe it just needs to be reevaluated and on that kind of time frame,
Or
5 year.
reaffirmed by its sponsor that it's still
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank
okay.
you.
I'd rather have the LSPA take the responsibility for going through their courses and recognizing which ones they don't want to suggest are good for people to take rather than
well, the LSP is not the only provider either. So
no, well, no, that's true, and we could request that of other providers.
I think if you did want to do something like that, I think we could if you did want to have a policy that after a certain amount of time for certain types of courses, you want the course presenter to reevaluate the content, I think we could tell them to do that. We could ask them to do that if that's what you wanted to do without having to put it into the regulations.
I think it's a great idea, Matt, and I don't know, is it possible to take a first pass at the list of approved courses and just flag ones based upon the titles and the years that they were offered and maybe referring to older versions of the MCP, and we'll go start with that. See how much is really out there.
Again, I think give the LSPA credit that they are doing something like that. Maybe we just start a conversation with them about it to start.
Yeah, I can
mean, I
certainly take a look and kind of catalog the courses that are listed now. And there's only a handful of course providers that do on-demand course offerings. I think less than five. So I can take a look at what's available now. in like the LSPA is doing, they're putting the notice out there that the regs have changed and some of the content might be outdated when you sign up for the course. So you kind of know. Um, and then I can also contact the other course providers and just, tell them, take a look at what you have offered and, make sure it's still current and not bad information or outdated information. I could do that.
I mean,
Sounds like maybe it makes sense for Matt, you to look through the courses between now and the next board meeting and then report back. And then we can see what makes sense if the board wants to direct us to do anything further.
Yeah,
Sure,
I agree.
great
I
plan.
think that makes sense.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay,
Okay, I can work on that and I'll report back next month on the findings.
Sounds good.
so that's it for the continuing ed meeting, and it's 12:21 is the end. Oh, the next meeting is May 12th.
All right. Next up is the Professional Conduct Committee meeting. Could I turn the chair over to Kirk Franklin or Jamie Smith?
Just a procedural question, Terry. Is there any old or new business to discuss this month?
There is not.
Can we just forego the meeting, or I mean?
We have to review and approve the draft minutes from the last meeting. That's the only thing we have to do.
Well, then, I guess I'm calling to order the Professional Conduct Committee meeting at 12:22.
Come on, you got 30 seconds.
Okay.
To approve the draft minutes.
All right, go ahead, Kirk.
Motion to approve the draft minutes.
I second.
Okay. Yes is approving the draft minutes. David?
Abstain, but not here. Sorry.
Diane?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jamie's yes. The minutes are hereby approved. Reaffirming there is no old or new business to discuss. And that being the case, we will adjourn and have the next meeting on May 12th.
All right. That brings us to the board meeting. Call to order at 12:23. I don't have any announcements. Terry, you don't either, I assume?
Don't. No.
Okay. Any additions, changes to the agenda? Say none. We can adopt the agenda. Draft minutes of the meeting held on March 10th. Does anyone have any comments? Okay, I move to approve the draft meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, yes is approving. David Austin,
Recuse.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes.
Kathy Campbell,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin still not here, right?
No, he's here.
He's here.
Oh, you're here? Okay, sorry. Kirk?
Yes.
Okay, Greg McBride,
Yes.
Paul McKinley,
Yes.
has Deirdre Manoyo come? No. Jamie Smith?
Yes.
And Diane Baxter is a yes. Okay, next is update. Do we have Sneha Karlagaria, sorry, to give us an update on the iPass system, the permitting and licensing
Yes, I'm
portal?
here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Very good afternoon to everyone. Updates. We're still in the annual fees season. So 98.9% of them paid. and 90% of them paid using our online system, which is great. So there are 4 outstanding payments, and currently they are marked as suspended due to the failure of annual payments. And we have the highest retired people. There are almost 31 people who retired as LSPs. Moving on, last month we did successfully migrated renewal credit changes, and we are in the middle of the renewal season again, and we did not have any complaints. So all the changes have been successfully implemented. We did, however, we did have 12 issues from the agency. These are not regarding the renewals, but regarding other process and updates. Our team addressed them quickly, and they have been resolved within 24 to 48 hours. So they are nothing outstanding as of now, except we need to provide them a new updated manual for the agency staff. That's it. Any questions, concerns?
What was the 31? That was people who didn't renew, who
They're
actually
retired.
retired,
Yes.
did not renew 2026.
Right,
Okay,
instead of paying the fee, they retired.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, next is decisions regarding licensing. Matt, could you report out?
Yep. So there's one candidate to discuss today, applicant Nicholas Guidi, number 2699. This was application review panel number 359, which was members Franklin, McKinley, and Smith. This applicant is a standard track candidate, Bachelor of Science degree in 2014. This applicant claimed 12 years of total experience, with 7 years of that being relevant professional experience. The ARP initially met on February 6th to review and discuss his application. The ARP requested additional information, which was received on March 23rd. So the ARP met again on March 31st to review this new information. The ARP comments are that they felt that the applicant met the minimum requirement for RPE and had a good diversity of contaminants included in the project descriptions. So with that, the ARP recommended that Mr. Guidi be approved to take the exam.
All right. So now the board will consider whether to take that recommendation.
Make a motion to approve the recommendations of ARP 2699.
Second,
All right. And yes is approving the recommendation. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I also am a yes. Okay, so Nicholas Greedy is approved for the exam. Next, renewal applications. Natasha was going to report out.
Hi, yes, we have one docket today with a total of 5 LSPs seeking renewal. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve docket number 1.
Second,
Okay. Let's see. Roll for approving the first docket, and this is people with the renewal date is 4/30, and they've gotten everything on time, so their new expiration date is 4/30/2029. Okay, David Austin,
Yes.
Gail,
yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Abstain.
Jamie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, next we have dockets, renewal status report. Matt?
Yep, briefly, this is for the current April 30th group. There was a total of 17 LSPs on the renewal list. We had 5 LSPs approved last month and then 5 approved moments ago. We did have one LSP that indicated she will let her license lapse and try to come back in within 12 months. So the remainder are all due by April 30th.
All right. Other licensing related matters, Matt, scheduling
There's
of
none.
future ARPs?
Okay, for our ARPs, for the open one for Natalie Burgo, that was ARP 366, members McKinley, Ellis, and Manoyo. The meeting is planning for this Thursday, the 16th, to discuss her application. And then we do have 2 new LSP applications that came in recently, and we'll be looking for volunteers to serve on the ARP. This will be ARP 367. Ian Martz from Arcadis and Eric Wartanen from Haley and Aldrich. So looking for volunteers. I like to keep it one ARP for both applicants, if people are okay with that.
I can do it.
Hey, David, thank you.
Can do it.
Was that Kirk? Thank you. And one more, please. Somebody new.
This is Kathy. I can do it.
Kathy, thank you. Okay, I'll be in touch with you folks once all the references are received, and we'll review and set up the calls. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next up, inactive status report, Natasha?
Yes, so we have a total of 2 LSPs on inactive status. For our total number of active, we have 387. And for our annual fees report, suspension notifications were sent out April 2nd via e-place notification and certified mail. LSPs have 90 days from the date listed on their invoice to make payment or face license revocation. Please note payments will need to be received by the close of business on July 1st. Payments can be made either via e-place accounts using either the pay online or the pay by mail option. If using the pay by mail option, please be sure to include your LSP number on your check, as this will ensure your account is credited properly. Thank you.
All right. And so your outstanding invoices at this point, Natasha, you have 4, is that?
We're down to 4, and initially we started at 10, but 6 have settled their balances.
Okay, great. All right, next up is exams. Matt, could you report out?
Yes, I can. So the exams were administered last week at DEP Worcester. A total of 18 examinees took the exam over the 3-day period. 3 examinees passed the exam. So I'll announce the 3 new LSPs, which are Carlin Whipple, number 2507, Carl Siebert, number 1945, and William Brochu, number 7571. So congratulations to those 3 new LSPs. All the test takers were notified of the results earlier today, and the exam committee will meet next month to review the exam results and review certain questions. And the next round of exams are tentatively scheduled for this fall of 2026, with dates to be announced later.
I did have one.
Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I wanted to raise one issue related to the exams. Since now we have removed the ability for people to come in and review what they got wrong and to do a formal challenge. We did have one person during the exam raise an issue about a question, and then also to follow up with an email raising an issue about another question. And then today we got an email from somebody requesting a review session, which we're going to tell them they can't do that anymore because that's been taken away, under the new regs. We don't offer that anymore for them to come in and review what they got wrong. But in the email, the person indicated they have some issues with questions, and they might have some issues with questions. And I just wanted to talk with the board about how they want us to deal with that going forward, since we don't have any longer a formal vehicle for people to come in and review what they got wrong and to make a formal challenge. And I just wanted to make sure it was sort of we try to be as equitable to everyone as we can. And I didn't know whether we should indicate in the exam instructions when people come in that if they haven't, if they want to raise an issue about any questions, that they can send us an email or they can talk to a proctor. But then I thought, maybe we don't want to do that because we don't want somebody maybe calling proctors over willy-nilly during the exam, like that could cause issues. And I just wanted to talk about if we want to somehow communicate to people that they can send us an email if they want to, if they see something that they think is an issue or not, since we don't have a formal process to do it anymore. I just want to make sure that we're treating everyone the same. And if people, want to talk about what we should do if we get these inquiries going forward.
Well, we have the exam committee, and I think we should always be open to anyone who wants to voluntarily provide input on questions after the exam, but it's not considered an exam challenge and it's not going to change their score.
Right.
We should certainly encourage people if they identify what they think is a problem on a question. There's no reason why we wouldn't want to entertain that information, but
Right. And I was going to ask, I remember, so here's something that we can't do anymore because we don't have paper exams, but I remember very clearly the LEP exam used to, and I don't know if we did it as well, but basically they told you to write in your booklet, or whatever, if you had an issue with a certain question so that it was documented at the time. And I don't know if there's a way for us to have something where somebody could just at least bring it to our attention. And I understand you don't want to have the proctor be distracted and having to do that, but at least somehow tell us, just remember the number of the question for them to just remember the number of the question and to maybe send an email so that we will look at it. I mean, I think it's fair for us to look at it. And Terry, could you check with maybe how Liz McAuliffe does it for the LEP exam?
Oh yeah, I can definitely do that. The other thing I was gonna say, was we give people scratch paper during the exam. They can't take it with them,
Oh.
but we could tell them if you have an issue with a question, you can note it down in your scratch paper, which you have to turn into us anyway, so we would see it.
Oh.
Or we could say, or you could, if you think of something, you could certainly send us an email after and not sort of encourage people to call proctors over during the exam. And we could do that. And that way everyone knows that if they do see something, they do have a vehicle to raise it with us. Now, we did have somebody ask us that raised issues about two of the questions. What would happen to their score, if it was deemed that there was a problem with the question. And I did respond to them that the subcommittee meets periodically. And in the event the subcommittee thought there was a problem with the question, and that question was the reason someone failed, that we would notify those people. So I did indicate that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but my thought was if we end up thinking that a question that is flawed, we would do something about it. I mean, I don't have to say that going forward, but that seems logical to me still.
Well, I think what we used to do, what we've done when we review them, let's say we key in two different, we say, oh, wait, that could be an answer too, or something like that, then I think we probably have, it's been so long since that happened, but that we would go back and probably look and see if that changed anybody's status.
Yeah, I would think that would be a fair way to approach it.
Right.
And for your suggestions, Terry, of how, having people write write any comments on their scrap paper, I mean, that could be just an instruction that the proctor gives at the start of every exam.
Yeah. I think that's a really good solution to because we don't want to ignore them. I mean, I feel like we don't want to ignore the fact, especially because it's a new exam, that if
Right.
somebody really notices something that we may have missed, we should be willing to take a look at it. Just because they don't get to challenge it doesn't mean we won't challenge it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have gone back. I know of at least one case where we went back and someone basically went from failing to passing because
Yes. Yeah.
they were given they don't, they missed the passing score by like one question, and that question they ended up getting right, and like 2 months later we flipped the switch and said, yes, you did pass. And so I know that did happen.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
That's happened at least a couple times in the past, and that seems like only the fair thing to do if we do come to the conclusion that the question was flawed. Okay, and I feel comfortable with the instruction to everyone. If you have an issue, you can write it down on the scratch paper, or you could email us after the exam if you want to, because then that's a level that everyone's given that same instruction. So it's not like somebody might think to do it and somebody wouldn't. So I would feel more comfortable with that. That seems like it makes sense.
I think we either review the gripes or questions, or we throw the exam out. Everyone's okay with 3 passed and 15 failed? That's embarrassing. I think
No, it
there's something wrong with
isn't, Kurt.
yeah.
It happened in Connecticut. It's just the group of people that it happens to. There was one time the exam was given in Connecticut and one person passed.
Well, I think we should look into it a little bit more to figure out exactly what, it could be that the failure is due to old questions that have been in the exam for forever. I don't think we've identified what the cause, or whether this is new questions or old questions, or whether this is first time test takers, or, or not. So
Yeah.
I think it would be good to do a little bit of analysis to try to.
Right.
I was actually going to ask: does the exam committee do an analysis of
Yeah.
like sort of what the answer rate is by question to just identify if there's any problematic questions because like nobody's getting it right, or like
Yeah, I can run reports from the
Right.
testing software that basically gives us how many people got each question right or wrong and the answers that they chose, so that we can actually look at wrong answers also and go question by question to say, okay, almost everybody got this question wrong, but the wrong answers were all over the place. So that really doesn't help. Or, yeah, a lot of people got this wrong and they all chose this distractor,
Yeah.
and you can then look into it and say, are they choosing it because this is, is it too hard or what? So yeah, we are given that gross ability to be able to, I can run reports like that, and we can sit down in the exam committee and look and try to find problematic questions.
And what we did in the fall, after the fall administration, where also not a lot of people passed the exam, I asked Matt if he could go and look at any question where the pass rate, the people that got that question correct was 30% or less, to see whether they were new questions or old questions. And that time it was kind of evenly split between new questions and old questions. And I think, even though it's kind of laborious, I think we should do that again for this administration. Look at the low scoring questions and see whether they're new or they're old. Whether, a lot of people that got it wrong picked the wrong distractor, so we can sort of pinpoint more where the issues seem to be.
And I think we plan to do that at our last meeting. We said we'll just wait till we have a larger data set and knowing that there would be quite a few people taking it, we should now have a decent enough size data set to do that.
This is the
exam
round that this
Connecticut?
test has been given, right?
Yes, this is the third, yeah.
Second round, right?
Second round. Right?
So we did September, October, and then April.
Right, well, I mean, the September, October was kind of wanted, so we've administered it sort of twice, if you look at it in terms of, there was a big group in September, October, and then a big group now.
So, I mean, we did a fairly sizable, effort to reset the test, and now we have, a couple data points, and we should, certainly as an education committee, track it moving forward, see what those trends are. We now have, I guess, a couple data points on the tests and the questions, old and new, just to start, looking at those trends. But it's only 2 data points. So
How
Well, we
many
should always
total
update it. I
people?
think we should always do that. I think when we have another new block of enough new test takers, that's the time to relook at it again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I just think it's a good idea to always be reviewing the results to make sure things are going well. And that means it would be the same thing as if everybody passed, we should be looking at the test then too.
Right,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah.
Matt, do you know, or Chris, do you know the number of people who took the exam for both the fall and the spring? The total?
I'd have to count up the numbers, because we did have retakers the second time. Um, so, yeah, Matt, do you have the hard numbers there? I don't have
Yeah,
them
it
in front of me.
was of the 18 test takers last week, 9 took it last fall.
Hmm.
Do you know if any of the three that passed it was their second time?
Yes, one person who passed, it was their second time, and then I think it was two first timers. I'm not sure, but I'll check. But I know at least one second time person passed.
And I know there was a person that failed by one question, and that was a person taking it the second time.
And there was another one who failed by 2. So there was some close calls.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
so
Sorry, Chris,
Chris and Matt are going to do a little bit of analysis, I guess, then to bring to the exam committee. Is that how we resolve this discussion?
Yeah, I'll run reports for the next exam committee on the key answers for all the and get percentages of so we can actually look at low percentage questions. And then during the meeting, we can maybe do a little deeper dive to see exactly what that might mean.
And we also have a couple of questions that came up that examinees had asked about. So that'll be part of the exam committee review as well.
Great. Sounds good.
And Terry, you'll still talk to Liz and see how they handle it, right?
Yes, and as when you said that, I was reminded that you asked me to do that after the last meeting. So I'll make sure that I do that before the subcommittee reconvenes.
Thank you. I mean, I can do it too, but I just thought it's
I'm happy to do
your
it.
role, not mine.
Yeah, it would be nice to talk to her, I think, about that. Good.
That was my thought. It was like good excuse to talk to Liz.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we're on to continuing education committee. David, could you report out?
Yeah, the committee met today, approved the meeting minutes from March, approved one course offering from the LSPA, approved a reapproval request for EBC PFAS seminar. And we discussed putting together guidance on older on-demand courses. And Matt has a takeaway from that to do for next month. And we're meeting next month, May 12th.
Still there?
Yep.
Oh, was there a
Sorry,
question for me?
my audio
Oh.
was off. Sorry. Coughing. Jamie, could you give the report out for professional conduct committee?
Yep, we just approved last month's minutes, but otherwise had no old or new business to discuss.
All right. Personnel budget and fees. Terry, do you have anything to report?
No new information to report.
Okay. Status of board member vacancies. We have gotten communication from someone who is interested in joining the board. So Terry and I are working on setting up a meeting with that person. So hopefully we'll have a new board member soon. Let's see. Other business. Anyone? All right, I think that's everything. Our next meeting will be May 12th, and we're going to adjourn at 12:50.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye
you.
Thanks,
bye.
everyone.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.